Bumps is on.
That should do it.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the latest edition of the Daily Gooner podcast. Joining you from the United States, regular host, I'm Raphael. And joining me from London are our English co-hosts. To my left is Ryan. Welcome, Ryan.
Hello, sir. Hope you're doing well.
I am doing very well. And of course, anchoring us at the base of this trio is Sam. Welcome back, Sam.
Hello, mate. Everything is good.
Yeah, good. A lot of exciting rumors. The 48 hours since we last potted, news stories have come up. To start with a theme that we bring up a lot on this pod. Arsenal does not talk. They don't talk to the press. The stories that are linked to them, be they from Italy, be they from Spain, be they from England, they originate from other places, other teams, other sources, other agents. Big one though today. Sam, let's start with you. A huge name. Again, an unexpected name, the Inter Milan striker Lautaro Martinez, the Argentinian, today linked with Arsenal. This is amidst rumors that we were discussing just, over the weekend that Tammy Abraham could be the apple of their eye. But it seems that they've moved their attention from Manuel Locatelli in Serie A to a very juicy target up the table, off the champs at Inter Milan.
Yeah, it was definitely an unexpected link, but it's one that I'm extremely happy that the club are trying to do because it shows the ambition of where we're trying to get back to, and having that caliber of player within the squad, given a good adaptation as well, he's one that will take us from challenging for top four to potentially challenging for titles. So for me, Lautaro Martinez he's just an unbelievable striker, and I sincerely hope this is one that we're able to get over the line. I know a lot of people have been saying that it's possibly him using Arsenal's name as a way of scooting Inter along to get a new contract, but obviously, as we speak about on this pod so many times, it's one where we wouldn't be inquiring unless we had the green light from the player's camp or the player himself. So it's definitely one to keep an eye on, and I think this is one that's going to progress alongside people like Bellerin.
Let me give you, all of you who are watching, a little context, because I've learned some research today into contracts, what's being offered, and this player's value. I think everybody who's followed European football knows who Lautaro Martinez is. But looking at his money, Inter is desperately trying to sign him to an extension, as Sam mentioned. Apparently, they're offering him 5 million euros a year, which comes to about 100,000 euros a year, which is roughly the salary that one Hector Bellerin is earning right now at Arsenal. Ryan, he's turned it down so far. He is on 50,000 euros per week. So if we were looking at his, is he attractive to Arsenal? Could Arsenal afford him? In that respect, absolutely. I mean, if they were just swapping Hector Bellerin's salary for him, that's a no-brainer. When you look at his quality, his age, he's 23 years old. This is a gentleman who is entering his prime. But let's look at the price. It's been quoted, I found it, depending on the source, that Inter wants 70 million euros for him. We know they're still in financial problems. They've sold Hakimi to PSG, but they came into this window needing to sell, I believe it was 80 million euros worth of players just to stay afloat. So Arsenal could take that 40 million that they were waiving at Sassuolo for Manuel Locatelli. It seems that he's going to Juve, and they can say, hey, Inter, here's that 40 million. Inter Milan is very interested in Hector Bellerin. They're not able to purchase him, but perhaps if he's now put in part of the deal, the money all lines up, it seems.
Yeah, and I said it in our WhatsApp chat earlier that we value Bellerin at 20 million. They want roughly 70 million euros, which works out to be, if my currency converter is correct, to be about 59 million pounds, which means if we offered 40 million plus Bellerin, that works out money-wise, because we want 20 million for Bellerin, be that a 5 million loan fee and a 15 million obligation for him. So we could just be like, well, you take the 40 million, you pay off your debts, and you get the right back that you wanted. But I was looking back at some reports, and Inter Milan were very interested in signing Lacazette last summer for Lautaro Martinez's replacement, should he have signed for Barcelona. So
Mm.
I'm thinking, two birds, one stone. Why don't we offer 30 million plus Lacazette and Bellerin? We get the two salaries off our books, and we get a player that we really want.
And if Inter decide they need the cash, okay,
We can
they can.
afford.
Arsenal had 40 million pounds on the table for Locatelli. We were talking about this over the last 2 weeks, so they have the cash on hand. Sam, also, if they decide that this is not the summer, they no longer want Alexander Lacazette. It seems that a market has appeared for him. Stories out of the Spanish press that Atletico Madrid, who were in for Lacazette when he came to Arsenal, are still interested in him. They want some depth at striker. They have Luis Suarez, but they're the defending champs. And reports out of, I think, Sport the last day or so that they're preparing a 17 million euro, 14 million pound offer for him. It seems the logjam may be finally ready to just break free here for Arsenal in a good way.
Yeah, I think so. In terms of a market for Lacazette, there's been reports as well saying that Lyon are backing for him. So it'll be interesting to see what Lacazette's preference is. As we all know, it was given that Atletico was his primary preference before he joined us. It was apparent he had a agreement with them before the transfer embargo. But if he's still interested in going to Spain, then I probably would suspect that Atletico Madrid's going to be the landing spot for him. A bit of a strange one in terms of that, because he won't be the starting striker there. So for me, if I was him and I had the choice out of them, Lyon and Monaco, I would actually probably go to Monaco, because I really think they've got an exciting project going down in Monaco at the moment, and with Kovac as the manager, he could get the best out of Lacazette, and in that league, he probably could become one of the top goal scorers there if he was in
Right.
that.
Let's stay with Monaco, because another juicy rumor just floating up in the last 24 hours that they have expressed interest in one Joe Willock and are preparing a cash offer for him. And now this is not a team and not a target that we had anticipated. Everything was centered around Newcastle, whether Newcastle could scrape together the cash to make a buy offer. Arsenal kind of weighing, do they want a loan? Do they want a loan with obligation? Newcastle kind of fudging around. It seems suddenly, we've assumed, PSG aside, Ligue 1 doesn't have much money, but here comes Monaco all of a sudden. And I'd have to think, Sam, if they've got the money, I'm sure Arsenal would sell, as you said, both players to them. That would probably be an exciting spot for Joe Willock, what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. It's, again, perfect manager to develop under, and with the league, again, the manager would play to his strengths. We all know what Willock can do, given his loan spell at Newcastle. I think a lot of it would be around Joe's preference as to whether he wants to try something abroad or whether he wants to remain in the Premier League, because we do know with the England situation that the players that are selected for England tend to come from the Premier League and not really outside, as Sancho's case was in the Euros. But I think if Joe was to go to Monaco, it'd be a really, really good move for him, and that will give him the space to really develop.
And I mean, lesser league probably overall, but a better club, as you said. He's going to be getting probably the same playing time that he would at Newcastle, and it said a club that probably be more competitive within the French league. Ryan, let's stay with this. We talked about Willock, we talked about Martinez. How serious is it or not? I mean, and again, let's go back to what we were saying about Manuel Locatelli. But that when all of the KSE protests were going on, the mantra was invest, show some faith, put some money out, show some ambition. Locatelli, Martinez, it's this kind of strange binary. People like invest. These are two of the biggest names you can find in the European market. And now immediately they pop up and a lot of people say, oh no, there's no chance we can get them. Now that's on the fans, that's on us. But it's very kind of dysfunctional, kind of schizophrenic. Like, well, what do we want? I mean, I want them chasing these players.
Yeah, I, they're big names, and they're players that would vastly improve our starting 11. And when people say, "Oh, we have no chance of signing this player and this player," it kind of don't forget who we are. We are still one of the biggest clubs in the world, and I don't think finishing eighth is gonna undo all of what Arsene Wenger's legacy did for us. The Invincibles, Thierry Henry. We are still, in most generations' eyes, a very appealing project. Obviously, with Locatelli, he grew up supporting Juventus and he wants to play for them. That's fine. We'll just move on to someone that does want to play for us. And like with Martinez, people say we can't get him. Why not? Why can't we get him? Obviously, we don't play Champions League football, but we can offer more money. We've got the history. We've got the fans, the stadium. We're in one of the biggest cities in the world. And we've got a young squad with a young, hungry manager. Tell me what's not appealing about that. You're going to be the centerpiece of bringing Arsenal Football Club back to where they should be. For me, if a manager's saying to me, I want you to be that guy for me. You're that guy. You're going to score me 25 goals this season and you're going to fire me back into the Champions League. I'm like, sign me up. I'm going to sign him. Do you know what I mean?
He's 23 years old. Sam, let's bring up another 23-year-old who has experience with Arsenal. Looked like Arsenal was going to try very hard to get him. Then 2 weeks ago, it looked like he was gone. He said his goodbyes on social media to the Arsenal fans, very heartfelt, enjoyed his time. We're talking about Martin Odegaard. And again, another one of these late rumors. I think you guys were teasing it on last week's pod. Keep an eye on this guy. Keep an eye on this guy. It's not over. And lo and behold, it seems that the Madrid press, certainly in the last 24, 48 hours, has done a 180 on him. It looked like all the news out of Spain was Carlo Ancelotti wants to keep him. He's going to make him a key part of the starting lineup next year. He was starting in the early preseason matches. And what we're hearing now is he's slander. He has no ambition. He wants to be the bride. He wants to be the bridegroom. It seems like suddenly some whispers have gone on and they want to push Martin Odegaard out the door at Real Madrid. Arsenal, I think, would take him back with open arms.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've always said here that Martin Odegaard is the number one priority for that position for the summer. My personal opinion is that Maddison was the opportunity of the summer, and it will purely come down to whether Madrid play ball. From looking at reports today, it seems that the Madrid media was briefed, because if we look at the timeline of what happens at Real Madrid if somebody's getting sold, is yes, that player's brilliant. Then it comes out to say, well, there's whispers that he might be leaving. Then it's absolute slander from that point to the person signing. And the funny thing is, I saw a report today saying that if Martin Odegaard comes to Arsenal, they're going to bet on Dani Ceballos because he's the one that really wants to stay. It's like, okay, cool. If you want to bet on Ceballos, we've experienced 2 years of him, be our guest. As long as that releases Odegaard back home, essentially, then, I'm all for it. I've been all for this signing since the day that he joined on loan. And for me, he could be the missing piece in this puzzle for Arteta's side.
All right. And again, let's look at the slander. If you look at the big Spanish dailies, Sport, AS, 24 hours ago, 2 days ago, Odegaard was nowhere to be seen. The story was Isco was the player they wanted to sell. But then some interesting video coming out from Real practice. I think you were talking about it, Sam, that it seemed like his teammates were freezing him out. There were rumors that the veterans on the club wanted to keep Isco, and internally it seemed, this is not in the press, but internally it seemed that suddenly Martin Odegaard was the odd man out, the new guy in the the shun guy.
Yeah, that for me, that video makes very difficult watching because it's with football, football's a team sport. Oh, period. Regardless of whether that person's liked, not liked, wants to stay there, wants to move, whatever, you still treat your teammate as your teammate because he's essentially potentially could still be there come the season. But with that video, everybody doing shooting practice, you get wild celebrations for everybody else scoring. But when it comes to Odegaard, sorry, it's deadly silent. He doesn't look like he wants to be there. The squad ultimately don't want him to be there, it seems. As I said, it just makes uncomfortable watching. But the rumor of the squad trying to force him out to try and keep Isco, that's one that I'm very interested in because Isco is a very well-liked member of that dressing room. And I think this is the first test of Ancelotti, so to speak, to say, well, we want our clubman to stay essentially. Odegaard could be the one to make way. It depends on Ancelotti, and I think it also depends a lot on Perez and see where he's at.
All right, Ryan, I'm going to let you do it this first, but I want both of you to kick at this because this is something we've discussed. Last week in the last pod, we were talking about James Maddison's likelihood that he would come. And both of you said, I expect him to come, but that was before the Odegaard rumor hotted up in the last 2 days, certainly since that pod. Now, as we look at this, I know you were talking about Odegaard and Maddison being very different kinds of attacking midfielders. And that part of Edu's job is to find a defensive mid to not only to partner and complement Thomas Partey, but to complement the 10. If Martin Odegaard is back on the front burner, or take it both ways. Let's say James Maddison remains on the front burner and Odegaard, for whatever reason, stays in Madrid or winds up somewhere else. Who, in your opinion, Locatelli's out. Who is the defensive mid who partners with him? We're going to take this as a menu. And then if Odegaard is back on as the priority, who fits best with him? And you can each take clicks at that. But it seems Arsenal has to approach this as a menu. It's a duo. It's not just one piece and we throw them into the pot.
I was explaining it earlier again in our WhatsApp chat. I think if we signed Maddison, from what I've seen and what I've watched of him, he likes to float in between the lines of the midfield and the defense of the opposition. He doesn't really drop deep to collect the ball, whereas he's more of a in the box, I want to finish the move off rather than a facilitator, as we call it. So for Maddison, you're going to need someone deep to ping him the ball, break the lines, make the passing avenues. So like a Neves type player, Coop Miners from AZ Alkmaar. So yeah, them type of ball playing defensive midfielders, the Locatellis, the Neves.
Yeah, I was about to say Locatelli fit that perfect. Right.
But if you sign Odegaard, he's like the Ozil. He's like a facilitator. He drops deep, collects the ball, moves forward with it, finds the right pass every single time. He doesn't rush anything. He knits everything together. So you can have a ball winner as your number 6 instead of having a ball player. So then you can have Thomas Partey as your higher midfielder winning the ball back quickly as a number 8. So someone like Dennis Zakaria from Mönchengladbach, Basuma, those sorts of midfielders would work better with Odegaard than they would Maddison, in my opinion.
Sam, do you see similar? Do you have preferences? I mean, you just said Odegaard was your priority. Who fits best with him, in your opinion?
What Ryan said. To a T.
To the name. Okay. Well, let me give you something else to chew on. If that comes to pass, all right, let's talk about right back a little bit. Let's say that Martinez. Well, let's talk about the 3 then. Martinez, Odegaard, Zakaria, Basuma. How does that all fit in? And does bringing in a real baller like Lautaro Martinez crimp Aubameyang's world in any way?
Yes and no. We all know Aubameyang can play out onto the left, although depending on who you speak to, it's dependent on whether they think that's a better position for him or not. But as we know with transfers, we know with transfer windows, opportunities come up at prime moments, and I feel with Lautaro Martinez, this could possibly be one of them. And a question got raised today was whether we could potentially wait 6 to 12 months for Aubameyang to potentially be phased out, and I don't think that we can, to be perfectly honest, because if we don't snap him up, he'll either sign an extension at Inter Milan, or somebody else will come and snap him up for around 60 million, I'd imagine. So in terms of Martinez, he needs to come in. Odegaard will be able to release him in terms of being high up the pitch, as Ryan said, with Odegaard's vision, Martinez's movement and finishing. That could potentially be a deadly combination. In terms of right back, I'd love to see us bring in somebody like Max Aarons. I would. My dream would be Cancelo from City, but I think that that's going to be highly unlikely. But Aarons would be very much the person that I would like to come in. The only question that I've got is around crossing, because if we're going to be going down that route of playmaking, Martinez is what, 5'8", so he hasn't really got a stature, but he definitely has got the movement. So it'll be interesting to see if Martinez comes in, how Arteta shifts the system to facilitate the best out of him.
All right, and is this, we talked about this on the weekend, that the window is starting to creep a little closer. Should we be concerned? It seems maybe Arsenal benefited by just kind of hanging out a little bit. These were not deals that we anticipated. I mean, we've been talking all summer about looking at the striker market. It's next year. Let's wait for next year. That's when, Holland or all, the Mbappe, all those big names are going to come out. There's going to be a glut. I don't think any of us saw Martinez right on the radar. And then, I mean, it may not, he is maybe his agent trying to get more money out of Inter Milan. I mean, let's give that part of the rumor to do, but here he is. Here we are.
Yeah, and I said a few weeks ago on a podcast that this is the summer. If we want to improve the starting 11, this is the summer, because next year fans are going to be back. Teams are going to have the money. They're going to go for these Haalands, the Mbappes, the Martinezes, the big names. So this summer, if we really want to get back to where we should be, we have to pay the money now and get ahead of the others. Because if we wait until next summer, we're going to be even further behind. Say we snap up Martinez now, as Sam's already said, if we don't do it now, City are going to do it. City will do it next summer. They'll pay 80 million for him and get it done, and he's going to be the best striker in the league. And that's the type of things that happen to us all the time. And I think things are changing, because there's no chance we would have spent 50 million on a centre back when we didn't need one, if we didn't think he was the one. And I think that is a deal that should have been done next summer, but it's done this summer because we can get him first.
Right. Let's pull some questions out of the chat, Sam. One about a name. Again, he comes up, he goes right. We're talking about Camavinga as a possible option. We've been talking about Zakaria in this one. We've been talking about, obviously, let's go back to Neves is still on the radar. Basuma is still on the radar, but he was there. Camavinga was there early. Camavinga fades. Last week we were talking about Camavinga. Where do you think he stands now? Is he still in play for the club as Partey's partner?
I think in regards to Camavinga, a lot of it is waiting around the player's decision as to what he's going to be doing next season, because it's been very well reported that he wants Real Madrid. Real Madrid want him, maybe not this summer, but on a free next season. So he may dwindle his contract for them to be able to do that and sign for them on the Bosman come January. But if he gives the okay to us and says, okay, I can be a part of that project, then I'm fully convinced that he will be one of the players to come into Arsenal Football Club. But as it stands right now, I think a lot of it is just depending on what the player's doing. And I think that decision will probably come end of this week, start of next.
Okay. And gentlemen, what would he cost if he was available? What's his market now?
Probably say about £45 million.
45 million. Again, this is a player who was being talked about, as you said, going to Real Madrid. The Madrid papers last summer were he's ours, but at a much higher price. I believe 60 million was the price being quoted then. So this could be another one of those players, if he's agreeable to it, that this is the summer. So same Martinez and everybody else. Another question, Ryan, what about the outgoings? Willian is still in the books. Lucas Torreira is still on the books. Kolasinac still in the books. And granted, Xhaka's still here.
Yeah, it's a waiting game now, isn't it? Roma, I'm pretty sure they're gonna pay up for him. They're just playing their games, transfer games with us, trying to make us like take as least as possible. But the reports tonight are that Xhaka's willing to waive any loyalty bonuses and issues with Arsenal that he may be paid for. So it may get done for the price they want, but we don't have to pay his loyalty bonus or whatever. So it's a bit cheaper. Works out the same price as what it would
He's
be.
paying for it, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Kolasinac, last we heard was he's in talks to terminate his contract. He hasn't been involved in, from what I've seen, he hasn't been involved in training, and he hasn't been involved in the last preseason friendly. He was walking around in his training stuff. Again, I assume he would be brought out of his contract because I can't see anyone wanting him. Torreira, strange one because usually he would have a number of interested parties, but Italy don't have any money, so I just don't know where he goes. And Ketia, I think he's going to go to Palace and play under Vieira. Yeah, the other outgoings that I think they speak for themselves, really, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah. Sam, another question about Andre Onana. We were hot on him. Seemed Arsenal was looking at a bargain buy for him. That lead seems to have gone cold. Looks like Arsenal's looking for homegrown here.
Yeah, seems that way. It seems that with Onana's ban didn't satisfy what Arsenal was looking for. Then you also take into consideration the African Cup of Nations. So you're looking, he's not going to be available till November. Then he'll be away for the whole of December. So essentially, we need a goalkeeper that's going to be available for the whole season. Because if, say, Leno was to get injured, then I'll be really going to trust Nkonkwo for the season. If that is a long injury, I'm not so sure. We're definitely not going to trust Runnison after his loan fell through.
Moving him out the door now.
Yeah. So I think with Onana, it's going to be a one. If we are going to move ahead with him, I think that we'll try and get him on the Bosman in January.
Okay, but to that end, the Ramsdale rumors are not going anywhere. In fact, they seem to be intensifying.
Yep, they are. I think in terms of this, I think Ramsdale is going to be one that would be, for now, to push Leno to the maximum and then eventually take over from him. If you're going to be looking to move Leno on and you want two senior goalkeepers, it would make sense if Onana is a Bosman in January, to be honest, and have them fighting out for the 1 and 2 next season. I know that the money is a big outlay, but if you're looking at, it's like any transfer, you can say, oh, that's a lot of money now, but if they come in, perform and exceed expectations, you'll look back at that and say 3-4 years ago, actually that was quite a cheap deal. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And it's just, I think with Ramsdale, it's a lot of people's perceptions that because of the back-to-back relegations, albeit with dodgy defences in front of him, that he's instantly not a good goalkeeper. But people fail to realise he won Player player of the season for both clubs.
Well, also, let's keep this in mind. You know, the number I think that spooks a lot of Arsenal fans is 30 million pounds. But let's say Arsenal pays that. Let's say they go for Onana in January. Fans are kind of down on Bernd Leno after the last year and a half for the injuries and the inconsistency in the second half of last year. But he should be able to bring back a pretty solid return, at least I'm guessing 20 million if he was offered back to the German market, would he not?
I'd imagine so. The funny thing about this transfer window is you don't really hear about the German clubs making big purchases. So you don't actually know what financial situation Germany's in. But you hear about Italy's broke, Spain's broke, France is broke. Don't really hear much about Germany.
All right, Ryan, another question. Because with Odegaard, you know, what does that mean with the Odegaard rumor intensifying so quickly? What does that mean for James Maddison and the James Maddison rumor? Is he suddenly off? You know, I think I'll let Sam have a pick at this. I think Sam is very bullish on if Arsenal's going to spend big, why not bring them in both? But I'll let him talk about that. But what does this do, in your opinion, for James Maddison's availability and desirability for Arsenal now?
Yeah, me and Sam have been to and fro about this all day, last 24 hours or so. I don't think we'll get both. I think it'll be one or the other, depending if Odegaard is available at the right price, we will sign him. But if we don't, we'll get Maddison. Well, we'll try hard for Maddison. If Leicester take 50 million plus Ainsley, I think we'll do that. So it's one or the other. I can't say which one yet. Not sure.
Okay, Sam, are you going to stick to your guns and say both? I think you said, what was your phrase? One is the opportunity, one is the priority.
Yeah, I've always said that Odegaard was the priority. I think Maddison is the opportunity of the summer. Can we facilitate both in the side? I think that we can, but it's a lot of flexibility within that midfield. I said to Ryan as well today regarding Emil Smith-Rowe and him being given the number 10. We know that we can't place all our hopes on Emil's shoulders because he has got an injury in him. So I think if the opportunity comes to get both, I think that we may grab both to have one of them as the rotation, one in as a number 10. And I think Ryan has got an image somewhere about the formation that Arteta's looking to play. So essentially, you've got Partey as the middle holding midfielder. You have two very high number 10s, and then the wingers inverted and the fullbacks high. So essentially, you've got what seven players, up high on that pitch. So if you can have rotation with Smith-Rowe, there may be that opportunity to have two number 10s, and I'm pretty certain that Arteta's spoken about wanting two higher number 10s playing in games at some point last year. So it might be an option.
But could this also be another one of those situations where, as you said, why not both? This is the summer again. Maddison's expensive, but his price isn't going to come down after this summer, I would think, if he continues at his current rate of productivity.
You've got to think with Leicester as well, though, that with Maddison, when Vardy goes or his roles diminish, given that they've got Patson Daka there, I think Maddison would potentially assume the key player for Leicester. So if that were to be the case, he wouldn't move if he don't move this summer. Personally, I don't think another club will come in with a bid, say 80 to 90 million for him. I just don't see that happening moving forward. So if he doesn't move now, he'll be at Leicester probably for the majority of his career.
All right, Ryan, another kind of either or, because on the last pod we were talking about how desirable Tammy Abraham would be because he's a different kind of striker. Arsenal doesn't have the real target man, and this would be another young player, hungry, underappreciated at Chelsea, dying for playing time, would give us a dimension of hold-up play, aerial play that we don't have. But now if we're talking about Martinez, what does that do to the Abraham option? Is just Martinez just too good to pass up in this instance?
Yeah. Just changing the subject quickly. I
All
will
right.
answer your question in a second, but our good friend Tom Wright has sent into our Discord chat that Fabrizio Romano today has said Matthias Pereira, he is one of the possibilities that Leicester are considering, more so than Daniel James as of today. He's one of the players to keep an eye on. I think it's a big opportunity for them. That would suggest to me that's a James Maddison replacement. But I also read just a second ago on Twitter that, Adley, the PSG youngster that we were linked to, is also a target for Leicester. So it does look like they're looking for creative midfielders at the moment. So I wonder why. And to answer your question, for me, if we're going for a striker and it's between Tammy Abraham and Lautaro Martinez, it's just not a debate. It's got to be Martinez. If Martinez is costing £19 million more than Tammy Abraham, you do it. You just do it.
Small in this summer where the money is on offer, the money is available. Okay, let's we kicked around a lot. Again, a lot of new rumors. Let's circle back to the question that we used to end the last pod. It does seem attacking mid, defensive mid. Now striker, we were saying, right back, that those are going to, will Arsenal get one from those three? We're saying Abraham, Madison, and Neves or Basuma or somebody, Camavinga. Would Arsenal get two of those three of those three? Both of you said all three of those three. Now the names have changed. Okay, Martinez. I'm going to say Martinez, Odegaard. Let's use the menu. Martinez, Odegaard. Let's say Zakaria. How many of those three are coming, Sam?
One.
Which one?
Odegaard.
Ryan?
I'm going to say two. I think Zakaria and Odegaard.
Okay, so you think Martinez is just still a little out of reach?
I do think it is all agents pushing Inter Milan to give him what he wants, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, if that comes to pass, are you content to go back Tammy Abraham as plan B?
Of course.
Sam, you get the final word today.
Yeah, I think Tammy's quite underrated. So I'd quite happily bring him in.
So let's say defensive mid, Odegaard, Tammy Abraham, whichever. There's still three options at the defensive mid. We haven't even mentioned the name Ben White. Add Ben White to it. Add Lokonga, Tavares. Let's say Ramsdale. That's 7 players. That's the haul. Sam, give that summer a grade, a snap grade.
It's got to be 10, hasn't it? Because it covers everything that we need moving forward into the summer, into the season. Sorry,
Ryan, give it a number.
Yeah, I'm going to go with 10 as well. That's a big summer. And talking to Ben White, his agent has just followed Edu Gaspar on Instagram. So, done deal.
For whom?
Ben White.
Oh, Ben White, of course. All right. Well, who could have anticipated what we talked about today when we were here Sunday? Hope to be back on Friday. And by then, hopefully we'll have some actually concrete moves, not just rumors, but moves. Hopefully we'll have seen Ben White by then holding the Arsenal shirt. It seems that's just a matter. That might be tomorrow. Join us on Friday. We will reconvene. Of course, we appreciate all your questions, your participation. Follow us on Twitter. Ryan's at Daily Gooner Ryan. Sam at Daily Gooner Sam. I'm at Daily Gooner Ref. Of course, follow our pod at Daily Gooner Pod, all on Twitter. Come to our website at thedailygooner.com. And again, come back and hopefully we'll have some more exciting Arsenal news. So for the three of us, breathless,